Oh, I guess for some reason. Hello, mi gente. How is everyone doing today? Today is 5 o'clock. It is March 16th, and I am here with LaQueshia Clemons. She is a LCSW and AFC, correct?
Yes.
All right. And today we are talking about the money shift struggle, such an important topic. I am grateful for anybody who is tuning in today to kind of be with us in this topic because it's such a big topic to really talk about. When we talk about money, when we talk about mental health, when we talk about our basic needs. While I set myself up here on Facebook to make sure everybody kind of gets the feed, LaQueshia, you want to introduce yourself and your business?
Yes. Hello. Hi, everyone. So I am LaQueshia Clemons. As Marianne mentioned, I'm a licensed clinical social worker and an AFC, which is accredited financial counselor. So I am a financial therapist. I run a private practice solely on financial therapy where I help individuals and couples around their emotions and behavioral habits when it comes to money.
Nice. And listen, we all deal with money. So this isn't something that is like, oh, I shouldn't have to tune into this one or anything like that because we all need money to survive. And but we all grew up in a different climate of money, what that means to us, limiting beliefs, whether we have a lot of it, a little of it. There's just so many aspects that we can kind of go to when it comes to this topic in itself. Today, what exactly are we focusing on when it comes to this money shift struggle?
So you're right, Marianne. There's it's so many different ways that we can go to. And what I like to tell people is, we talk about personal finance a lot in this space, but personal finance is not a one size fits all. So it is not, you may hear, okay, well, you just gotta start saving and put 10% away, and then you should be able to do that, or you should be able to pay off that debt by doing X, Y, and Z. And it's not that easy. It is more than just numbers, and it is a very individualized and unique to each person and how we do things. So even when we're talking about looking at like mental health, a lot of people sometimes don't even realize that maybe you have anxiety, maybe you have depression, maybe you
Mhm.
have trauma, and one of the ways that you cope is by spending money, or you need to buy something because it's that immediate gratification. And sometimes you realize it, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you'll enter into this guilt and shame down the road when maybe in that moment you felt great buying that
Mhm.
pair of purse, that sneaker, that shoe, whatever it is that you bought, but now it's time to pay your rent, your light bill, your cell phone bill, and you're like, well, why did this happen? What did I do? So a lot of times people can get stuck on their money goals, especially when you have other things happening or other things going on. So it's just important for us to take steps and recognizing, like, how does our money affect us individually, and how does our culture, our values, how does that also play into money? Because when you mention limited beliefs, like
Mhm.
that's big in certain cultures too, of when you may be somebody that didn't come from a lot of money, so you think, you become an adult and you're like, okay, so maybe if I need to get food stamps, I need to, be on Section 8, and like that's okay because that may be what you grew up on, and it's
Right.
not a bad thing. It's helpful. But then you're then like, okay, I can't make extra money because I know us with Section 8, then my rent's gonna go up. So then you're feeling like, okay, no, I can't go over and make more money because
Mhm.
I need to stay within this certain area. And it's only because you're comfortable in that is what you know.
Or
So
it's almost like you get trapped in kind of that race, because I know if I make too much money, then the system's going to be like, oh, you make enough to do this, and really I'm just teetering that. I'm just trying to get above, but I can't. So a lot of people feel almost stuck to just be like, well, I'll be
yes,
here for a while.
yes. People get stuck, and then it's like, well, how do you push past that? And
Hmm.
there's also some people that push past it, and then they feel guilty for maybe making too much money, because that's not where they came from. Or maybe they're making too much money now, and they also don't know what to do with it.
Right.
They don't know, like, what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
Or even there's certain things like buying a house, investing, your retirement, setting yourself up for the future that you may not be familiar with.
Right.
So the question is, how do you then maneuver to get past some of these like limited beliefs? And a
Hmm.
lot of that is like, looking at yourself. Something I do with my clients is I like to go through what I call money story.
Hmm.
And what that is just, what you've learned, your culture, your environment, what you saw your caregivers or parents, how you saw them handle or
Hmm.
interact with money, and then, what have you done in your life. And then now, once you're able to walk through those money stories, then how do you want to recreate your money story? What
Right.
does that look like? Because awareness is definitely the first thing that has to happen. Because once you're aware, then you're able to know, okay, what's the next steps that I need to take. All right, I know I feel depressed right now, or I
Hmm.
know I'm anxious, and I really really want to go out and buy me this certain purse or material thing, but I know if I do that, it's only going to make me happy for a moment, for a
Hmm.
second. But it's not really what I value. What I value is spending time with my family, and maybe us having going out to eat once a month. I'd rather put my money towards that instead of buying maybe a purse or a shoe, whatever that case may be.
Right. And as well as, it makes it easier because now we have things like Amazon that's like instant gratification. I don't even have to go out to the store. I can just do it here. And one of the things that I have found is Mr. Klarna, Mr.
Oh,
Afterpay, and Mr.
yeah.
Firm. Like it only makes it seem like, oh, I only have to spend $12 today and
Yeah.
$12 or whatever, $50 today and $50 in 2 weeks or whatever. And people don't realize that'll get you into like a trap real quick.
Really quick, real quick. And that's the thing, you say, like, what, it's only
Mhm.
$12. I could, pay that off over time. But then that $12 and start adding up, and then it's $20 and it's $25.
Mhm.
And then the next thing you know, you're like, all right, well, where's all my money? Like,
Right.
what am I doing, but
Mhm.
those things, they do it. Society has made it very very easy for us to spend money, because
Yeah.
that's what they want us to do.
Mhm.
Ads and everything are targeted in certain ways to get you to spend. So one thing I do also tell people is, our phones now, you can Apple Pay, you can cash
Mhm.
it, like, everything's right there where you
Right.
could pay for things. So something I do tell people when they have certain goals is to remove all those cards from your phone, so that not you're more less likely to go ahead and buy something because you're laying in bed, can't sleep, so you're strolling on your phone, things
Mhm.
things like that.
Right. Yeah. That's such a great tip. Great tip. Yeah. Well, I want to go back really quick to something that you said a little bit earlier about our family and sort of like that almost like creating your own narrative, right?
Mhm.
I think that is such a great tip that you had, as far as like understanding what your family dynamics are when it comes to money. What did you learn when it can't come to your family? Because most of us don't really realize that, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was only recently, like, I was like, oh, okay, my money habits come from this parent,
Yeah.
or this kind of belief comes from this parent, and that's kind of how I do it. And to be honest, that really didn't come to me until my husband made a comment about it.
Ah.
And he's just like, you spend a lot, and I'm like, really? But the thing is that for me, I'm spending for household stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody is benefiting off of what what I'm spending, right? Maybe when I was single, or I was a single parent,
Yeah.
I it was definitely shoes. Like, shoes was just like
Yeah.
my thing. And then as I transitioned over and bought a home in my late 20s and things like that, then it started being household items. And like, or as you get older, we get like, oh, I got this new
Mhm.
appliance and it's fun, or whatever it might be. But everybody's benefiting off of the things that I'm buying, because usually it's household stuff. But that adds up
Yes.
real quick, and I'm just spending it. And sometimes I think I need it, or maybe it makes it more convenient for me. But that too is, you can spend a lot on that.
You can, even groceries.
Yes.
Even groceries, you can. I know, there's some people that end up in the grocery store like every day,
Mhm.
because they as people have learned that, okay, you can go to the grocery store and save money rather than eating out.
Mhm.
But then what happens is you're going to the grocery store constantly, so you're just spending a whole lot extra money at the grocery store instead of planning. And
Mhm.
just to also bring it back for you too, is something I do share a lot on these platforms, is my kind of story, and my journey is, my mother growing up, she was big on credit cards, and everything was like, oh, just get this, we'll put it on a credit card, pay it off over time.
Mhm.
So as I got older, 18, 19, 20, 21, I got a credit card,
Mhm.
and everything was like, okay, I'll go ahead and get it. I'll just put it on a credit card. I'll, pay it off over time. I quickly enter into a lot of debt,
Mhm.
and did not like that feeling, because I was working, and here I am. I'm working, but I'm I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and all I'm doing is working to pay bills.
Yeah.
You know, and it
Yeah.
wasn't a good feeling, which is honestly how I got into this, because I was like, this isn't right. Like, something's not right. I
Right.
shouldn't be feeling this way.
Mhm.
So I had to work on like changing that, and changing my narrative. And people tell you I'm the first one, they think I'm frugal, and I
Mhm.
say nope, I spend on things that I value, which I
Right.
value my quality times going on trips,
Mhm.
with friends or family. So
Yeah.
you quickly have to do that work within yourself, and becoming aware of like your spending, and then, all right, how do I work on this? But also knowing, because again, like I said, it didn't feel good to me. Probably a lot of anxiety was going on. I don't want to look at the credit card statement, which a lot of my clients today too, them too, they, at the end of the week, they're like, nope, I don't want to look at my credit card statement. I don't want to look at my bank account, because I don't like the way it feels when I see it. So
That
then,
shame you were talking about.
yes, yes. So then
Mhm.
you got to work through that, and work on that, and and also working with building yourself back up, and
Yeah.
forgiving yourself for your past, forgiving yourself for, okay, you know what? I made that happened. It was the past, and now I'm moving forward.
Yeah. And and it's important that once you realize, even for yourself, where this, money concept comes from, and how you've been spending it, and where you learned it from. And I think sometimes where people get stuck too is that, okay, I paid everything off. When they finally get to the point where they paid everything off, it's almost like, how do you not do that again? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we're like, oh, it's that relief. And it's like, oh, I'm just swiping the card for gas, but I forgot to transfer the money over
Yeah.
back to pay it off. Because me in particular, like I like my travel points. I travel a lot. I'm like, oh, here's that gas, the little bit of gas points I get. And sometimes I forget. I'm like, I'll transfer and I forget. And then I'm like, shoot, now I have to sit here and now I have to, transfer over double. And then
Yeah.
my interest hit and now I'm upset. But how do people get from that unstuck or going back into that cycle? Like what's like an
Mhm.
important tip to say, I can't do that again? Like, no.
Honestly, I tell people that, you got to get a support system. So, um, whether it's like if you're in a relationship as a couple, one thing that I highly suggest is what I call like money meetings,
Mhm.
where like once a week or once a month or once every other week, however you want to do it, you're sitting down and you're literally just talking about money, like
Mhm.
nothing else but money. So it could be where you're talking about, all right, well, what bills do I need to pay
Mhm.
this week? All right, I know that I'm about to get a bonus this month. Where should I put that? What else should I do? Or okay, I had gas, I had groceries, and let's review the credit cards and make sure like we go ahead and paid everything off. So really, you're making decisions, but you're having these conversations, talking out loud. Because what I find is, in society, talking about money is so taboo. But
Mhm.
something that we should be doing is talking about it and keep talking about it. And the more and more you talk about it, the more and more you become comfortable with it.
Right. It no longer feels like a shame. And the thing is money is, like you said, is it's a taboo, it's a vulnerability. There's, marriages and partnerships that have fights over money or stressors. Like they get upset because and money is like a sense of kind of power and control. I don't want you to control what I'm doing with my money. Right. I want to do whatever I want to do with it without you having a say. But the reality is when you are in a partnership, even though you can make your own money and you make your own
Mhm.
money, if you're spending too much over there, what are you actually like besides paying half of the bills and things like that? Like, what are we doing together that's building? So if we talk about like taking vacations together, maybe we should have some goals set aside and say, let's have a savings for this and a this, so that way we're not like overspending on stuff that we really don't need, but we can take
Yes.
that vacation without dipping into it or struggling or saying we can't take a vacation because we can't afford it.
Exactly. That's exactly the big thing. And I always tell people you hit the nail there of the goals. Setting
Mhm.
goals are so major and so important because especially your money goals, when you have those, then you can keep coming back to, all right, I really want to take this vacation. So you know what? I'm not gonna go out. I'm not gonna buy these shoes because I really don't need it. I have tons of shoes already in my closet,
Right.
and we really want to go on this vacation. We really want to go somewhere tropical, and in order to do that, I need to be putting this money aside for
Mhm.
that. And so working with your partner to be able to identify what those goals are and saying that, and kind of holding each other accountable. But you're right, like yes, we both work, we both have our own money, and I'm not asking you to tell me what to do with money, but we come together on the common goal, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
it's so important to set those goals and then really having somebody to like hold you accountable for it.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, like these are your goals. You want
Right.
them, and that person that you have as your support is gonna want to see you hit those goals, you
Right.
know?
Right. And you guys both benefiting from it too. Like, oh, we could take this vacation and it's not like a challenge because we've saved from this. Um One of the things that you know my parents used to say is like back, when I was a teenager, is like, save your money, save your money. And then I realized I wasn't saving money because I didn't understand what that even looked like, what that was supposed to be about, because that was never taught either. You can
Mm-hmm.
say save your money. So one of the things I tell my daughter now that she's working is, have some goals, because what makes it easier for me now to save is that I have a goal in mind. If I need my, people always talk about emergency savings
Mm-hmm.
funds and things like that, whether it's saving for my car or saving for, again, travel, vacations, because that's where my money
Mm-hmm.
goes to, is saving for all these stuff, because by the time I got on vacation, not only have I paid off that trip, but I have X amount of dollars for spending. So I don't have to worry about anything, because I've already done that preemptively, because that was already my goal. So I'm telling her, listen, you want certain things in life, great, but you want to be able to save, but here's how you do it. Save for a goal. And we actually separated different accounts outside of her bank account, so that she doesn't even see it. So it transfers over,
Yeah.
that's it. You don't see it. That way you're not tempted to bring, and it takes days in order for it to transfer back. So it's not even worth it at that time if I know
Yeah.
I can't be impulsive about it.
Yeah, you hit some good points too that I tell people. So one is having a bank account outside that you're, that out of sight, out of mind, that you
Mhm.
don't mind if, however much you could afford, a couple bucks, $10, $20 that can go directly to that bank account every time you get paid. It's just there, like, for if an emergency pops up, if for whatever that reason may be. But when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So then you tend to not, you don't depend on that money. It's just there in case of an emergency. Another thing is bringing kids into the conversation a little bit more, because you know growing up, yeah, money, you don't talk about money
Mhm.
with adults, but there's ways to bring them in, because at the end of the day, like, they have to learn this because they're going to become adults
Mhm.
as well. And understanding that, what, we all have a family goal of, we're going on this vacation.
Right.
In order to do that, maybe your daughter may ask you, okay, I really want to buy some expensive jewelry or something like that, and you're like, you know what, I hear you, I know you really want that, but remember, we're supposed to also go on vacation, and in order to do that, we have to be able to set this money aside,
Right.
because they got to start to learn too that value of money. That way, when they grow up, they're able to make better decisions than what we may have done
Mhm.
when they become adults. So I always tell people to don't exclude children in
Mhm.
the conversation. Obviously, if it's appropriate, making it age appropriate, but you want them to feel like they have some type of contribution and some type of say into this, because that's all. It's just teaching them the
Mhm.
skills as well of how to manage money, and also understanding the value of money.
So that brings me to a question for you, right? Um, Concept of money trauma, right?
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to like parenting. And in my head, I'm thinking like one that, like, a lot of times people, again, we talk about money shaming, that money trauma, and kind of yelling, turn off my lights because you're wasting this, or turn off this, or turn off this, and then everything becomes about money, right? It's almost
Mhm.
like turns into like this anxiety. I get it.
Anxiety.
I mean, I pay the heat. I have two zones here in my house for heat, so I get it. But how can we as parents teach it, like you said, versus creating like this stigma
Mm.
that it's, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not
Yes.
getting out completely, but it's almost like I don't know.
I get it. I get it. And I think that comes with the wording,
Mhm.
as parents. Cause yeah, I get it. Like, turn off my lights, turn the heat down. I understand, because you're the one paying
Mhm.
for it. But at the same time, we gotta have the child feel like that's their home as well. It's it's they live there too. That's their home as well. So maybe it might not be, you know, turn off my lights, or things like that. Maybe it might be like, listen, like, we have a light bill to pay, and explaining like, we have this light bill to pay. So, and again, coming back to the goals, if we want to go on vacation, we got to make sure that we're turning off the lights like we're supposed to every time we leave the room, or we're not having the heat up so high, or the air conditioner, you know, whatever the case may be, because that way they're becoming a little bit more mindful, like, oh, okay, that's right, I we're planning for a vacation. You know, mom has to save money for this, and I can help her save money for that by doing things like turning off the lights, or, you know, making sure I don't have the air conditioner on when it doesn't need to be on, or things like that, you know.
Right. Or even like yes, and as well as like maybe almost like teaching them for the, again, the age appropriate for kids that are younger, like the concept of what that takeaway looks like, right?
Hmm.
Even if I'm giving you allowance, okay, every time you say, for instance, every time you leave a light on after you leave the room, right?
Hmm.
Let's figure it's like 5 cents a minute.
Yeah.
If I gave you $1 and I saw that light on and it was left on and you forgot all about it, and it's 30 minutes later, we're going to do the math. And then that
Hmm.
way they're actually visualizing and understanding, oh, my money's gone already. It's no longer money. Yes. So
Yes.
mommy and daddy's money is gone too.
Yes,
Like, so, but
exactly.
you're teaching it versus it being like a trauma, like you're yelling at them, punishing them for a concept that they don't understand.
Correct. That's exactly it. You have to teach, because you don't understand, and you won't understand unless it's explained and it's taught to you. So
Mhm.
you're right. Like, it kids they don't get a lot of that concept. So you have to teach it. You have to like show some value into it so that they can understand, versus making them feel anxious about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the Facebookers had made a comment. Sorry guys, I don't know who did, because on here it says Facebook user. So it says, my parents have joint accounts for everything. My husband and I have separate accounts. Um,
Mm.
I do too. My husband and I have separate accounts, but we just recently created a joint account just
Mhm.
for like household bills. Like
Yep.
everything that household related goes there, and then we have our separate money. Do
Yeah.
you have any like tips, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's a question that gets asked pretty often. So it's okay to, it's really a preference of,
Mhm,
if you want to have a joint account, if you want to have separate accounts. The joint account helps sees everything, like the big picture of, everything that's going out, everything that's coming in. But I will say, like, you got to have some very, very healthy communication around
mhm,
it, because then it could then become, well, why were you at Macy's today? Why did you spend
mhm,
this, at JC Penney's today? What were you doing? What, we have goals. So it could leave one person feeling like, you know what, I'm feeling attacked, and you keep questioning my money, and I don't like this.
mhm,
Or having separate accounts is good too, and doing it like you're doing, where you're kind of have this joint account where you're putting in
mhm,
your bills, or whatever's supposed to come in there. That will work too. But I think it comes back to you as a couple. What are
mhm,
your goals? What are your financial goals? How do you guys want to work that out? Is it mine and your money, and then our money? Or how are we doing this? Or is it like, okay, I pay half, you pay half,
mhm,
and that's pretty much it, so some people, I have worked with couples that where they paid half, where one spouse was making a significant lot more than the other one, and the one that was making less money felt, she was paying half, she wanted to pay half, but it left her feeling like, you know, like she couldn't do anything else. She wanted to go to school. She felt like she couldn't do anything else. So they had to figure out a way, because again, he was making a whole lot more money, of how do we come together as a couple so
Right.
that you're both have your individualized goals that you want to hit, but also your goals that as a couple, you know, wanting to start a family, and which means that she was going to be going out of work, and he was going to be taking on more of the bills,
Right.
and that means she's not putting in half anymore. So it
Mhm.
became like, are you guys going to be okay with that? How do you guys come together with that? And that's where people usually get into having that joint account where, all right, since I make less, maybe I'm gonna put in, you know, 30% or 40% of the bills, and you're gonna put in that 60 or 70% of the bill, since you make a little bit more. Or maybe it might be something different where it's like, all right, I'll take care of the house, where I'll pay the mortgage and the oil bill, and any of the big bills, and maybe you take care of some of the little more smaller bills. So I think it's fine to go any way. It's really about the couple themselves, like how, you know, what works best for each couple. For me and my husband, we actually have a joint account. Now,
Mhm.
again, that took time of us kind of coming together and seeing the big picture, that it was easier for us to have our money all in one pot, and just like, because we had goals. We had
Right.
goals. That was how we were able to like hit our goals, and helping each other out with certain things. So
Mhm.
it's just worked that way, but it's also okay to, you know, have the separate accounts.
Yeah. So communication is key when it comes to, working with a partner, when it comes to financial, stuff. When you're a single person, when you're really trying to get somewhere in life and get ahead, you want to, again, even as a couple, you want to understand where that money um, kind of mantras come, that belief, that understanding of money comes from, and you want to set your goals moving forward in life as to what you want to attain. Do you
Yeah.
have any other tips for the audience when it comes to that struggle or shifting your mindset?
Um, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but I'm always going to say work with a therapist.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I truly feel like everyone will benefit from therapy. So there are things that could have again happened in your childhood. There could things that could have happened in your adulthood
Hmm.
that you don't realize might be the blockage of why you can't make moves in your financial life. And uh working with the therapist, they can help you to see some of that blockage and hopefully move through
Hmm.
that blockage. So a couple of things I do also leave with is, as we talk about social media,
Hmm.
I always tell people, be very careful with social media. Social media, people put things up. You see somebody going on
Hmm.
trips, you see somebody buying something else. Don't compare yourself
Right.
to that person. They, you know, it's social media. Sometimes you may need to take a break from it, but keep in mind you don't know what's going on behind their door. You don't know what's happening. So I always tell people, try not to compare yourself to the next one. You may see them buying a big house, but for all you know, they could have a whole lot of debt that's going on, and maybe they're feeling off on the inside. So definitely like try to if you feel like you need to take a break from it, take a break, but do
Hmm.
not do not compare yourself, and talk about it. Like I said before, just start talking about money. Like, don't be ashamed, don't feel guilty about it. Just start talking about it, because the more and more you talk about it, the more and more you're going to feel comfortable, and the more and more people are gonna see like this should not be a taboo topic, and
Right.
we should be talking about it. And there's a lot of people feeling the same way.
Hmm. Exactly. And don't and one of the things, especially with women, but with men in particular, that I have seen is that they themselves, because they've always again, like society, and what society says is that once upon a time they used to be the breadwinner all the
Mhm.
time. So but that is kind of turning a bit in this new day and age. But men shouldn't be ashamed to talk about money either, and it's okay to not be the breadwinner in today's society, right? But not getting upset when maybe that you might have a little bit of problem with it. But talking, one of the things that women love to do generally is talk. That doesn't mean that all of us like to, but we like that emotional part because it helps us open up at too, and not feel like we have to be closed off or we're in this alone.
Mhm.
Because we all struggle with this concept, and not all of us are born into wealth. But then again, the wealthy don't always have an easy time with money either.
Mm-mm.
So it's something that everybody kind of struggles with, and I agree with you, Quisha. I'm biased because, of course, I'm a therapist. So for me, always working with a therapist is going to again help you get down to that root. Having someone like you who is not only a licensed clinician but also uh, financially
Financial counselor.
too,
Mhm.
yeah, financial counselor, that's like double there. So
Yeah.
it's like, especially if you know that that's kind of your root and what you're struggling with, boom, like you're perfect for something like that because you have those two things. And financial advisors per se don't talk to us about the trauma behind it and where your money, they're just trying to set you up for the future.
Yeah, they're
But
all numbers.
yeah, it's all numbers. And sometimes when you're trying to stop those bad habits and understand it so that way you can actually make a shift, you need to understand the root of where that comes from. That's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. And you're right. I mean, you hit it. Like you have to get to that root, and the sooner, when once you get to that root, then it's eye opening. Then
Hmm.
it's like, "Oh my god, this
Hmm.
is why this has been going on. This is why this is happening." But then you can change it. Then you can rewrite, like I said, you can rewrite your story, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, and don't be afraid to write. Oh, I have over there. I budget weekly. I've been doing that for a long time. But I have a planner. I have a little happy planner, and every week, every time I'm like, okay, this is when my paycheck coming. I sit
Yeah.
down with my little calendar. So like find something that really works for you. That works for me. I happen to be someone who likes stickers too. So I'd be like, oh, that's paid off. And I have my little
Yep.
sticker to give myself some joy. I know it might sound corny, but for me, it works.
You got to do what works, though. You do. You're right. And some people are into coloring, and if like you're
Mhm,
someone just paying off a whole lot of debt, I say create those
mhm,
charts and like start coloring in. Like, hey, you
mhm.
know what? I'm at the $500 line. Like this
Yeah,
feels good. I'm almost next step closer to my goal.
yeah.
You got to do definitely like what works for you. And I budget weekly too. I
Mhm,
have to like
mhm,
I have goals and I want to stay on track, and this
mhm.
is this is what I choose to do.
Yeah. So everyone find something that works for you. If you're having a hard time with that, Quisha's here. So Quisha,
Yeah.
why don't you give your information as far as how people can reach and connect out to you?
Yeah, so probably the best way is going on my website, which is www.freedomlifetherapy.com. On my website, you'll be able to contact me through there, email me. Email is probably very, very convenient. I'll also give you my office number in case you want to reach out, which is 860-578-4597. You can definitely give me a call. But like I said, go on my website, email me, and I'll definitely get back to you.
I'm just typing that into the chat so everybody would have that information. So everybody connect out to her. And where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram as the money therapist LaQueshia_1, and on LinkedIn as just LaQueshia Clemons. Yes.
Because I'm just trying to see if I wrote that right.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Are there any other tidbits that you want to give the audience, or you feel like we got a good grasp on this?
Yeah, I feel like I dropped a lot, and sometimes this
Mhm.
becomes a lot, and then
Yeah.
I leave people with a lot of questions. So, but I'm here. Reach out.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on. I've been wanting to connect with you for quite some time on this. And then sort of like what we talked about before is just like, okay, trying to do the lives is, even though I've been doing it for some time, it takes time. It's never
Yeah.
like, okay, where do I fit this into my schedule? So I'm glad that we were able to connect and do this because again, this is one of those basic needs too
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people, like, even when we're running a therapy session, if that basic need of money or housing or something like that is not met, then your source of a lot of the anxiety and depression is
Yeah.
coming from that basic need not being met.
Yeah.
So it might be great to start off even with you, who can help you get to a
Mm-hmm.
place that maybe you're feeling a lot more comfortable. You're not having that anxiety anymore, because now it's like, okay, maybe I haven't got to a place where I can make more income, but at least I'm understanding where it's all
Mm-hmm.
coming from. So that way I can set myself up in the future and say, okay, but maybe I have to come up with a plan to have a little side gig to be able to help myself in the long run a little bit quicker, or whatever that might be. But when you have that idea or that concept, right, it no longer feels like a burden, and it's like, now I have a plan. And most people don't know how to plan because they don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for you, honestly, I wouldn't have known that there was like a financial therapist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an emerging field. It's out there. It's just not in Connecticut, and I'm hoping to bring more and more knowledge to Connecticut about it, and hopefully there's some other therapists that are coming up right now that's like, hey, I think I want to do that. So
Yeah, I think it's amazing. So listen, keep doing what you're doing because I think it's awesome. And for the audience, reach out to LaQueshia. She's a great resource. She can definitely help with this. And thank you again for coming on
thanks
today.
for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you everybody who has sat and kind of listened and watched us today. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.